much. Let me start this way, and allow me to give you a bit of context. When I came into office, I did 3 things the first day in my office that I had committed to the people of Kenya. Number 1, I made sure that port operations that were unnecessarily moved from Mombasa were returned. Number 2, I made sure that our police have financial independence. Number 3, I appointed the judges that were supposed to have been appointed, and I committed that I will expand the budget of the judiciary. If you look at the budget this year, we have added an extra 4 billion shillings to the judiciary. When I came into office, I found a huge crisis of fuel. In fact, before even I came here, immediately the results were announced. Amongst the first people to come and see me were oil marketers. And they told me, we are in a crisis. We are going to have a stock out because we cannot have fuel. Government has told us to sell fuel subsidized, but they haven't paid us. The government owes us 65 billion. So that whole subsidy story you hear, it was just a pledge. So I found that we had a 65 billion shilling subsidy to pay. Meanwhile, our financial situation was very bad. And by the way, that subsidy was accumulating at 15 billion shillings every month. I don't know whether you appreciate the magnitude of that. So when I came into office, I looked at it, and the one thing that I did that in retrospect was the right thing, is to have an economic team around me. So we sat down, we went through the numbers, and finally we discovered that there wasn't actually a fuel problem. It was a misdiagnosis. The problem was an economic and much more a dollar problem, because there was fuel that had come, but the oil marketers could not find the dollars to go and buy, because government was maintaining an artificial, rate. So there were 2 parallel rates. There was dollar by government, which said was 120, and there was another, if you really wanted to buy the dollars, you had to go and get it at 128, thereabout. So what did we do? First, we reinstated, because it was not a fuel issue, we reinstated the interbank forex market. What did that do? The spread that was between 12 and 15% has now shrunk to between 2 and 3 shillings, or difference. That is point number 1. Number 2, we went and negotiated for credit on all our petroleum products. So we've negotiated 6 months to ease the pressure on the dollar. In fact, many importers were finding it difficult to get dollars to import raw materials. We have since sorted out that problem. The liquidity around the dollar market has improved.
Okay.
We've allowed the dollar to find its own level. We are not artificially managing the exchange rate, because managing it artificially costs us money. So we have an issue there. So when I came into office also, I found that we had commitments of 900 billion Kenya shillings on the roads. 900 billion. I have tried to work with the various departments, Kera, Kura, Kenha, to try and understand how do we manage this 900 billion. We've tried to cut it down. We've tried to stop some of the roads that have not started. We've died. But we still remain with close to about 680 billion that we have to manage. If I have to complete these roads, I need extra money to do it. And every place I go, I was yesterday in Nyandarua. Communities, people, leaders tell us, we need a road here, Mr. President. We need a road here. We need to finish the Mau roads. You need to finish this. You need to do this. We need an extra road. They were even telling me there's a road called Kinamba to some place. So that whole equation changed. But what have I done? I have said yes. We're going to increase the VAT by 8% for two reasons. Number one, because having differential rates, one at 8%, others at 16%, poses a problem, an integrity problem. People use it as a loophole to manipulate numbers, VAT in, VAT out. So the advice that my economic team working with Treasury gave was we must eliminate this loophole that people are exploiting, number one. Number two, this 8% that we are adding is going to give us about 50 billion shillings. It will begin to deal with the problem of roads across the country.
Okay.
But what have I done to balance it out? Because I made a commitment that we need to relook, right? I have removed on the same fuel, as we add 8%, I have removed road 3.5% road development levy from fuel. I have removed 2% of IDF on the same fuel. And to balance it out, because it is the same Kenyan who is going to pay from their pocket, I have removed VAT 8% on gas. And I have removed other taxes that I'm going to explain to you, about 14 other taxes that I have removed to try and even so that we have a balanced budget.
Okay. We'll talk about the other taxes as proposed in the finance bill, which will come before Parliament. But you have mentioned that there is a team of economic advisors.
You're right.
David Ndei has been in your campaign team throughout the campaign before the elections. So is the current National Treasury Cabinet Secretary, Professor Njuguna Ndung'u. When you came to the presidential debate and you made the remarks on the 26th of July, which I quoted you verbatim, I think you said majority of taxes that are in that bracket, 15 almost you said, but we need to integrate at least these 15 different types of taxes. Did they not advise you, or you did not take the advice?
Precisely, if you heard me clearly, there are many other taxes that we have since removed. So you must look at it in context. Yeah? What my economic team advised that time is that we need to relook at these taxes. When we came into government, we found a situation. The country was in a crisis. And by the way, I have had to make very difficult decisions. In fact, coming into office, I had to cancel the borrowing of about 300 billion shillings that the intention was to borrow. That would have taken the country down the cliff. I had to step in and stop many of the subsidies that were being dished left, right, and center. I had to make many changes. I had to reorganize the whole budget because we found a country headed and sliding into bankruptcy. And so when you find that kind of situation, you have to deal with the situation with the urgency and with the acuteness of thinking that is required.
Okay.
Yeah? You don't operate outside a context. So the question that you have asked me, did we remove some? Did we look at the fuel issue? Yes. We said, while it is true that we have a crisis and we have to deal with a pending bill of 700 billion for the roads that we have, while it is also true that we have to look at what additionally we can do. But we need to put a relief on Kenyans.
Okay.
That's why, apart from, and you know the reason why the tax on the VAT on fuel or petroleum products is much more attractive is because it is spread across all Kenyans. So everybody carries a small bit of it.
Okay.
But we have also knocked down other taxes from the same fuel. As I have told you, IDF we have taken down, road development levy we've taken it down, and a host of other taxes that we have taken down.
Okay. Final question on this. This is an issue, Mr. President, which dates back to 2013 as a condition by the International Monetary Fund, the IMF, in which then the leader of the majority party, the current defense CS who sits in cabinet, Adan Duale, said that the 181 MPs have been convinced by the party leadership, the President Uhuru Kenyatta and his deputy William Ruto, on the rationale of the 8% VAT on petroleum products. He continued, 181 is a very big number and will convince our members. And this being a precautionary facility by the IMF, can you tell the Kenyan people that there is no extra hand of pressure on the Kenyan government by the International Monetary Fund?
My good friend, the International Monetary Fund does not run the government of Kenya. I do. IMF does not make decisions for the government of Kenya. I do. IMF are our partners. They work with us on our priorities. They work with us on our proposals. They support us where they can. They give us advice where they can, but ultimately, we make the decisions ourselves. And it is not up to IMF to see how to sort out the 680 billion that we have on the road sector. It is not up to any other person. It is up to us. When I get out of this office and go to this village and that constituency and that ward, it is not the IMF that is asked about roads. It is the government of Kenya that I run. So I think there is always this thinking that external factors dictate to us. I think you know me better. Mm-hmm. I can stand up to any pressure from any corner. Mm-hmm. I make the right decisions for our country.
Your Excellency, you've said, and this is not just today, even previously, that the Jubilee handshake administration went on an irresponsible borrowing spree. They took loans worth 4.1 trillion shillings in just the 5 years of 2018 to 2022. How much is our public debt today, Mr. President?
Our public debt is in the region of 8.8 trillion, close to 9 trillion. That's where we are. And so that you can contextualize this, it is the reason why, if you look at this budget, I have made a deliberate, conscious decision. In fact, against the advice of IMF. IMF actually wanted us to borrow slightly more. I told them no. I told them no, we're not borrowing. And that is why, if you look at the fiscal deficit, the money we are borrowing, we have reduced it from 1.1 trillion last year to 630 billion this year. We have reduced almost 500 billion because I am conscious that we are not in a good place. I am also aware what is happening to other countries. There are countries in our continent that have defaulted in their payments. When I am president, Kenya will not go that route. And that is why, even when, many people thought it was a joke, I told them, we are not borrowing beyond where we are.